I just sit for 2 minutes?
Everyone, we're about to start. We can bring it down for a second. Everyone in the back, could we quiet down for a few minutes? Please.
I don't think you're going to win this battle.
Alright, so hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about the future of trading exchanges. A really exciting topic in blockchains because of the enormous growth of exchanges and the demand for crypto assets and the trading volume increasing. So just to introduce myself quickly, my name is Michael Gord. I founded MLG Blockchain. We're a blockchain consulting and development firm. We're headquartered in Toronto with operations around the world and offices in Montreal and New York City also. And now I'm excited to introduce our panelists. So this is Benjamin, Pablo, Kwan, and Ross. And I think it would add value for us to go around and for you all to introduce yourselves and tell the audience a bit about what you guys are working on.
Perfect. So I'm Ben. Ben is fine. So I'm Irish, as you can probably tell. So you're getting to witness what an Irish person looks like when they get put in an oven, essentially. I'm from Dax Technologies. I'm the COO over there. What Dax Technologies essentially try to do, again, we are a global operation also, mostly based out of Canada and Malta at this time. What we're trying to do is update the current cryptocurrency paradigm to one that's more in line with the other international capital markets like Forex, indices, stocks, commodities, bonds, and kind of bring the industry lifecycle into one where a compliance officer, for example, at a large institutional investing firm will be happy to sign off on allowing their traders to trade this asset class essentially.
I'm Pablo from Genesis Blockchain Technologies. We're out of Costa Rica. We're the world's mobile-first decentralized exchange, which is pretty cool. And we also have a currency exchange license, a commodities exchange license, and a money remittance license, which is amazing because it will allow people to trade cryptocurrencies with commodities and cryptocurrencies with fiat currencies, the G10 currencies. So we're very excited to be here.
Hi, I'm Quan Park from Bitrix, and we are based in Seattle, Washington, and I'm actually based in Washington, D.C. I guess our platform is one of the few in the U.S. that offers more than 200 digital assets and markets. And kind of the core of the exchange is founded on 3 pillars, which is security, and empowering innovation, and corporate responsibility.
Hello everyone, I'm happy to be here. My name is Zhang. I'm the CEO of Huobi Canada. So Huobi is world's 3rd largest crypto exchange. Our daily trading volume is over $1 billion US, and we offer over 140 coins and over 200 trading pairs globally. And we're doing the expansion in Canada. So we offer the crypto exchange to the Canadian customers, and you can check out on huobi.com. And also we offer the OTC trading, which we don't charge any transaction fees or we don't charge any spread. So check out our booth later.
Thanks guys. So you all come from different places and have global operations, probably focused on different parts of the world. I'm really curious, and I think the audience will be too, for you guys to talk about the global exchange business and where you're seeing most of your volume or the biggest expansion opportunities. So do you want to talk about some of the global exchange industry?
So, as I mentioned, we're headquartered in Canada, but I'm actually relocating myself to Malta on Saturday now. So we'll be working directly with the Maltese government. So in terms of exchanges, they're kind of leading the way. They're talked about as the blockchain island in the Mediterranean, essentially. So if you look at the trader volume, for example, around the globe, it's very difficult to pick out one place, but the main volume is going to be coming from North America, Europe, and Asia, essentially, with about maybe 10% of the volume coming from the rest of the world combined. Again, we're not talking about number of people, we are talking about volume actually transacted on an exchange. So trying to pick one place out of those big three is difficult to do, but because essentially you need to target clients within all of those spaces. But our focus is to work directly with already established exchanges in the space. So I'm bringing the kind of New York Stock Exchange mentality into the industry. So what we're trying to do is basically apply that across the globe, especially in those big three regions. So.
To me, what's interesting about the entire exchange ecosystem, if you will, is that, as we know, there are a whole bunch of exchanges out there, over 200 exchanges. A lot of people don't like this analogy, but to me, to a certain extent, this is like the dot-com bubble all over again. Meaning, a lot of exchanges are going to die out, a few exchanges are going to thrive, and be the next Google and the next Facebook of the cryptocurrencies and the volume. And I think that one of the pillars for the exchange industry is regulation. A lot of people talk about countries in Europe, the US, obviously. We found Costa Rica to be very interesting because the Costa Rican government considers cryptocurrencies commodities. This is already established. So there is no war between the SEC and the CFTC like there is in the US and a lot of other countries in the European Union. In Costa Rica, already cryptocurrencies are considered commodities. And the reason why we think we're very well positioned is we already own a broker-dealer license from the Commodities Exchange of the government of Costa Rica. So I think to outlast in this industry, regulation is at the center, is at the forefront. Because even if you have a lot of transactional volume, but don't have the certainty of a regulatory environment where you can thrive, you're building on the sand and not in the rock. So I think a lot of people talk about trading volume. Trading volume is going to be there, it's going to continue to increase. The NASDAQs of the world are going to join. We already know that. The people that that have been into this and reading, they know that even the CEO not too long ago said that she'd like to be trading cryptocurrencies in the exchange. So I don't think volume is going to be a problem. I think we're over the ICO hurdle of hot air of last year, and a lot of people are beginning to do more due diligence. I think now the missing link is the regulatory part. A lot of people are going to Malta, nothing against it, but there isn't even any regulation that has been put forth. They just said with like crypto, we'd like to get cryptocurrency friendly country, but there isn't any regulation. And I think that one of the advantages, and also I guess a tip out there from exchanges, is Costa Rica considers cryptocurrencies commodities. Therefore, if you go for a broker-dealer license, from the Commodities Exchange, then you'll be covered from the regulatory standpoint.
Yeah, so from Bitrix's point of view, I'll kind of continue on the three pillars that I laid out earlier in my comments. I'm actually excited to be in Canada today because Catalyx Exchange, Catalyx, which is short for Catalyst Exchange, just launched today, this morning, for a partnership with Bitrix. So that's kind of our global plan is to look at partners out there in the world that kind of share the same philosophy and take compliance seriously and want to work with the regulators, and we actively engage those partners and try to expand globally in that means. And so everyone check out catalyx.io. They just opened today. Excited.
Okay, so because we are a global exchange and we're doing the Canadian expansion here, and actually we already have global operations in South Korea, Japan, Australia, UK, and now in Canada. So the global perspective we have is first we think about the customers. So what customers want, right? They want the liquidity, and we have tons of liquidity to provide with the customers. Actually, we are one of the top liquidity providers for the smaller exchange as well. And the second they want a very secure, and the customer want the protections, right? So we are one of the most secure, exchange, and we haven't got any security breach so far, and we also have the investor protection fund that we have our Huobi token, that 20% of that the circulation of the Huobi token we will buy back and put into a reserve that will protect our investors from any accidents. So, and the third one is of course, we're in the Canadian market, then we need to work with regulators to be compliant with the Canadian regulations. And actually, we're working with the regulators to push that initiative go forward. So I'm really looking forward to bring the global experiences and the global technologies to the Canadian market and to serve the Canadian consumers better.
Thanks, guys. So we've been talking about global expansion and how the industry is growing. Can you guys touch on some of the stuff you're most excited about from an exchange perspective and where you see the trends are in the industry, specifically with first exchanges?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. Quite interesting. So in terms of trends, I'm more looking at life cycle of the technology and where we are. So everyone probably knows what an industry life cycle curve looks like. It's basically an S curve. So we're just kind of moving out of the kind of early adopter phase now, or even in the Gardner curve, because the bubbles burst, we're kind of moving more towards the plateau on the Gardner curve. So what's going to happen in the industry, and what I'm excited about, is this kind of consolidation of information and understanding about what the best practice is going to be moving forward. Because I think the best way to describe it was, I had a conversation there the other day with another attendee here, and they were saying a couple of years ago at one of these conferences, it was basically all a load of guys in t-shirts and sneakers, and now you're starting to see a load of guys wearing, up here we've all got like a suit jacket on. It's just the way the industry kind of evolves. So what's exciting me is really the conversations that are being had, or I've had with a number of people that I can even see in the audience now, about what's actually going to happen to this entire ecosystem as a whole as consolidation does start to take over, and there's next kind of fragmented thought and mindset about what's going to move forward. So it's very difficult to actually pinpoint what exactly is going to happen in the future of the industry. Like, you asked me what's exciting me about the industry. I think that we're seeing things like Tango technology emerging, for example. Now, I'm not saying Tango technology is the future of the industry. I'm saying that we're seeing that blockchain isn't the end-all and be-all of what this industry can kind of become and be. And we're seeing that these other technologies kind of emerging or being tried out. I know there are problems with Tango, but it's a good example of how these entrepreneurs out there are thinking. And I think that the more business kind of C-level people are starting to actually communicate and work together as well, as opposed to the kind of race to the top or the race to be first mover or something along those lines. And I think opening up those communication lines is also vitally important, because once exchanges such as ourselves start communicating, as you were talking about regulation, obviously regulation moves a bit slower than innovation, and it's always going to be I won't say always, because we never know what's going to happen in the future, but currently that's the situation we're going to be in. So we don't need to, I suppose, I know we're going to need to work with the regulators when it does come in, but we need to preempt that regulation and actually discuss between the industry players. Like Morgan Stanley is going to sit down with Goldman Sachs at a dinner table and wonder what's going on and how they see the industry moving. And I think that's the really fascinating part about what's actually happening today. It's the big executives coming together and actually having the conversations about where is this industry going, how do we make this industry better, and how do we make it a stronger asset class than it currently is, essentially. So that's really what I'm seeing. That's you.
Within the context of exchanges, which is what the panel is about, to me, I think the more exciting, or what excites me the most, is I think that part of the key of mass adoption has to do with usability and user interface. The user experience and the exchanges, the simpler it is, the more encouragement we'll transmit to users to use more of cryptocurrencies and trade them and relate more to them. You know, a lot of people, when you say, you know, I'm in the cryptocurrency industry or blockchain, still, to this day, a lot of people go like, and what's that? Like, what's a virtual cryptocurrency? So I think that the simpler we exchanges facilitate to our users their experience, the more volume and the more mass adoption we will propel. I'm not saying exchanges are the only one, but think about it. Without exchanges, there's no liquidity in the market. So exchanges play a major role in mass adoption. And I think user interface, user experience, and obviously cooperation with banks and governments, you know, to be able to convert value from crypto to fiat and other units of value, units of account, will be very excited to see and watch in the upcoming years.
Yeah, I'll keep it short, but I mean, the three things that excites me is, I mentioned earlier, is the exchange partnerships, just going around the world and finding people with the same philosophy as Bitrix. The second thing is we launched fiat trading, I believe in late May, and this week we announced that we're going to have XRP and Ethereum Classic available to trade next week. So I think we can continue to see more pairs available on the USD markets. And then the third thing is just continuing to find innovative projects. With token teams, we love getting projects into our application queue. The token listing process is online, and we just want these projects to have a place where people can get access, to some of the innovation.
So from Huobi's perspective, so because we're talking about the future here, and I want to talk about the short-term future for the exchange and also the long-term future. So in short term, we see a lot of innovation in the exchange business. We see decentralized exchange. We see different models for the exchange. But still, we believe that the centralized exchange, especially the big ones like Huobi, is still creating values for the customers because it has a liquidity advantage and it has, it supports the transaction speed that the customer wants, especially for the contractors and the API users. So in short term, I think there will be, this is a time that, the centralized exchange is still dominant, but we see a lot of interesting ideas from the decentralized exchange. But, in the long term, I'm talking about probably, next year or, something, because Huobi is building its own ecosystem. So exchange is our core value. But we go above and beyond the exchange business, we are expanding to the ecosystem. For example, we have a Huobi ecosystem fund, which invests in everything, all the projects that's related to the exchange business. For example, innovative exchange and innovative wallets and the instant messaging tools and the media tools. So that's how we see the value, that we want to expand the territory to build a whole ecosystem. And actually, Huobi token, which it's a exchange token right now, but we already upgraded to the ecosystem token. That will be served as a token that, as a single token, as a single purpose token that will be circulated among all the businesses in this ecosystem. And in the far future, what we see is a lot of businesses are going to move to the public blockchain once the speed and the security and all of the regulatory friendly issue, all those issues are resolved. We can see a lot of businesses are actually moving to the public chain space. That's why we're building our own public chain called the Huobi chain as well. That's how we see in the future.
Super cool. I hadn't heard of Huobi chain. So we've spoken about decentralized exchanges a little bit in your answers. I'm super curious to go a little bit more in detail into decentralized exchanges and to hear your perspectives on centralized versus decentralized and where that's going. And maybe let's, if it's okay with you all, maybe let's start from the other side to change it up a bit. So let's start with Ross.
Sure. So as I said, decentralization is still in the C phase, where it's still not mature enough to provide the same advantages as a centralized one, from our perspective. And because we believe the customers need the liquidity, we believe the customers need the transaction can be settled very quickly. So all those things cannot be done in the decentralized exchange. For example, some of the decentralized exchange they use the Ethereum network because everything is on the Ethereum network. The TPS on the Ethereum network is not good enough to support those transactions. We also see some decentralized exchange that build on the delegate proof of stake consensus mechanism. Of course, that improves the transaction speed to 3,000, but then still it's not good enough. It's not comparable with a centralized exchange as of today. However, we're exploring the decentralized exchange as an innovative product as well, because we believe as the technology is moving forward, there may be, if we have some breakthrough in the decentralized exchange technology, if we can solve all the speed issues, the security issues, then we can probably move the decentralized forward.
Yeah, I certainly think it's early right now. We're seeing a lot of decentralized exchanges coming live. Certainly there's room for both. Like I said, liquidity and speed is some of the things that are lacking in the decentralized space, but then there's also the policy question, the regulatory question of tracking your customers and the main thing I think about when working for an exchange is what's the number one risk for a regulator? It's national security, and for decentralized exchanges that hasn't been solved yet, and I think it's going to be an issue moving forward.
Well, as I said in my intro, we actually are the world's first mobile-only decentralized exchange. So I guess that gives me a little also more input into decentralized exchanges as opposed to my colleagues here on the stage. What I see that's interesting, there's an irony going, with exchanges that we're a decentralized economy trading on a centralized economy system. We brag and we boast about being decentralized, trading in centralized exchanges. So I think the future is definitely decentralized exchanges. I do agree with the regulatory point of view, but I think we can achieve a hybrid if we cooperate with governments. Their main concern is, as we all know, since the G20 appointed the Financial Action Task Force back in March when they met in Buenos Aires, Argentina, all they talked about was cryptocurrencies, by the way, and the regulation of such. So I think regulation will be coming to the forefront sooner than many people expect, and being positioned as a decentralized exchange so early can give advantages as well. Now, as far as liquidity and trading volume, the more the community grows, also, the more liquidity will be inherent into the exchanges. So in reality, market making is amazing, it's very profitable. We may launch a centralized exchange as well in the future because it's profitable as a business model. But for the consumer, the safest, fastest, more non-intrusive mechanism would be a decentralized exchange. And I think, like I said on my previous answer, as more mass adoption is achieved, decentralized exchanges, there will be an ecosystem for decentralized exchanges as a result. So I don't think chasing this liquidity at this stage is even sensible. I think what makes more sense is achieving other things, and as a result, the liquidity and the volume will follow.
Yeah, so this is actually a conversation I was having with my CTO yesterday. So firstly, I do agree with you that a decentralized exchange in the future is probably going to be the solution once this liquidity problem is solved, but essentially, I'm trying not to step on a toe here. I hope you don't mind.
No problem.
But
don't step too hard.
Yeah. So the arbitrage opportunities that are kind of going on, to come at it from like a finance perspective, the arbitrage opportunities that are going on in the crypto space don't really exist in other asset classes, essentially. So, and the liquidity issue with the decentralized exchange means that these arbitrage opportunities are slightly rampant at this moment in time. So in order to get this asset class to the level that it's equal to the other asset classes out there in the market, it's not that a decentralized exchange can't work. It's that at this current moment, I personally don't feel that a decentralized exchange can provide that liquidity and that speed in order to remove the financial impediments that someone like an institutional investor would see. So the arbitrage in particular is what would be hitting me when it comes to decentralized exchanges. But as I said, I do agree that it is the future, and if you can solve that issue, you're going to make a lot of money. You know, like it's all good.
I think another important topic that we haven't touched on yet is security and how to secure exchanges that are doing enormous volume or decentralized exchanges. I think that has also an interesting security question. So you guys want to touch on how you're securing your exchanges and the procedures you're doing for that? Maybe let's start with Ross again.
Yeah, sure. I just mentioned, well, we are one of the most secure exchange. We have a dedicated security team, who's previous hackers, white hats, and we're doing the penetration testing on our platform every a month. And for the wallet storage, we store only a small percentage of the asset in the hot wallet, and we have the multi-signature cold wallet solutions as well. So that gives the customers, assurance that their assets are safe on the exchange. And also in terms of the procedures and processes, because our exchange has been operating globally for around 5 years. We have accumulated tons of experience in the operations, right? So when we're talking about security, it's not only the security on the exchange, it's the security for the customers, right? So, lots of issues, for example, the dirty money, right? So, how to prevent all this dirty money and how to detect the fraud, right? So we have tons of experiences there, and we have certain processes that we follow to prevent those things happen. And also sometimes we see a market just crash, or there's any incident, because we have the margin trading as well, and we want to protect investors from the incidents when the market suddenly crash. If it's a large withdrawal or something, then that would be handled manually. We want to make sure the investor feel comfortable when they trade on our exchange. So that's why we focus a lot on the security side, and we have our chief security officer, who has 20 years experience in the security. So I think that's one of the strengths that we have around the globe.
Yeah, so security is a very important thing at Futurist. Actually, our exchange was founded on security. Our three founders have over 50 years of combined experience in cybersecurity. They come from Amazon, Microsoft, and BlackBerry. That's where we're located in Seattle. I can't get into specifics about what that entails because I'm a business person, but I know every decision that I make, we have to go through the founders, and everything is security first.
Well, in our case, because we're decentralized, we're not storing people's private keys, personal data, even coins. They bring their assets to the exchange for the purpose of trading, and then they withdraw from the exchange to their wallets. And I think that kind of solution also can be something to look into in the future. Because interestingly enough, a lot of people store their money, their cryptocurrencies, and fiat at exchanges currently. The majority of the users, they store their assets in exchanges versus wallets. And not that I entirely disagree, but I think the future will be geared more towards interoperability, as well as being able to move to and fro faster, and the security will be a client's prerogative of how they will manage personally their assets versus how somebody else is managing their assets for them. That would be truly a decentralized ecosystem.
Yeah, well, I can mirror a lot of what these guys have said. So obviously there's the hot and cold storage wallets, which kind of every exchange is going to have nowadays. I know in the past there was some operating only with the hot wallets and the cold, but due to some hacking issues, everyone's kind of using a cold wallet now. But we're also looking into an artificial intelligence system that will actually show us when there's unusual activity. For example, if you usually withdraw, let's say 1,000 a day, and then all of a sudden you withdraw 50,000 in one day, that may be blocked and will validate and all that sort of stuff. You've got the general other stuff as well, which is like the two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication in certain circumstances. This is more my CTO's area on our security side as well. But yeah, so I think that this industry is kind of having a best practice across the board now. So I think if you ask that question this time next year, we'll probably all have the same answer. You know, it's old hot wallets.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we've got about 10, 15 more minutes. Before we open the floor to the audience, I'd like to leave it open for you guys. If there's anything exciting you want to talk about that's on your roadmap. I know Quan, you mentioned that you just launched Crystal in Canada. I know Ross, you just expanded to Canada. So you guys, if there's anything that you guys want to talk about and tell the audience about that you're excited about, now's a good time.
So I'll take the whole 15 minutes if that's okay.
Yeah, okay. I'll start because, you know, we're the global exchange. Why do we have operations team here? So we want to serve the Canadian customers. That's our top priority. So because we heard that customers, well, especially the Canadian customers, when they contact like a global exchange, right? Oftentimes they will never hear back, or they don't understand the issues, and everything happening in Canada. So that's why we are here. We're here to serve the Canadian customers. And another thing is we want to build the communities in Canada. For example, we have like a good relationship with EOS block producers. Like in Canada, we're actually number 4 in EOS block producers. And we have lots of communities and lots of crypto traders who's willing to share the knowledge with people like us. So, and also I'm looking for the partnerships in Canada as well. I would like to work with other exchanges. I would like to work with different partners like from different industry, the financial industry, or the supply chain retail industry. Because this is a market that I think we should collaborate with each other instead of like competing each other. And actually, that's one thing I talked with one before the session is I was sitting at this table with OKEX with the people from Circle at the one conference in the States, and we introduced friends to each other instead of like we're talking about bad things about each other. So I think this is still the market that we should all work together to get more users on board and to make the market bigger.
Yeah, and I completely second those comments. We introduced the Canadian partnership. I'm definitely excited about that. The thing that really excites me though is, as we make a lot of these announcements moving forward, we find new partners that launch around the globe. Is two things. It's we're trying to give them and teach them our know-how, our experience, and trying to bring about best practices around the globe and to maintain market integrity, because really that's what exchanges should be founded on, is integrity. If customers don't trust your platform, then they're not gonna come. So some of those things, education, and just keep promoting blockchain technology.
To me, what's exciting is that being a decentralized exchange first and a mobile platform, like we were talking before, there isn't much liquidity there, right? And the coins would not be that eager to list. But we're listed with over 40 coins, or $40 billion market cap, and shared market cap, over $500,000 daily volume. So there is, when you put certain things together, like we were saying in cooperation, other people follow, and I think, I'll second that as well. I think the future is cooperation, and another thing that I'm really excited about announcing, not yet, but in January, is the ability to be able to trade cryptocurrencies, as I said in the beginning, with commodities and the G10 currencies, because I think that'll open it up much more to the user so that they can feel much more familiar and possibly, maybe, knock on wood, make mass adoption be easier. Because people know oil and gold and silver, and if you can all of a sudden pair that with cryptocurrencies and fiat, G10 fiat currencies, then it becomes more familiar to the users and could enhance user growth exponentially. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, just on the cooperation, I think that's what I was trying to say about the kind of Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley thing. I think that's what the industry does need. But in terms of what we're launching, we've got quite a large product portfolio which we are coming out with over the next few months. So we've just launched a new site, DAX Street. Essentially, what we're trying to do there is create. First stage will be an investing.com equivalent. As I mentioned, we are looking to try and bring best practices from the other capital markets to this asset class. So an investing.com equivalent, and then over time, a Bloomberg equivalent is the aim of DAX Street, and that will happen in a number of different iterations. We have a index fund also launching, so everyone knows what the S&P 500 is. Essentially, it's going to be a DAX 500 with an algorithm which ranks again, not just based on market cap, but with similar functionality to the way an S&P 500 index would rank its assets. We have an exchange launching as well, so what we're doing is, again, we're pulling the technology, again, all best practices from the other financial markets. So we're using like MetaTrader 5, for example, which is the top trading platform for Forex in the world. I think 80% of traders use it, and we've integrated that with crypto now, which is a little bit different. And within that platform as well, we will be offering quite a range of different currencies, cryptocurrencies. And I suppose the benefit of that, and what we're also trying to achieve, is within DAX Connect, that platform in DAX Markets, is in order to list on it, we're kind of going to go through something quite similar to what a large exchange like the NSE, New York Stock Exchange would do, or NASDAQ would do, and rank each of the tokens so that a large institutional investor will know that by seeing that token on our exchange, it is a safe asset to invest in. And we have a number of other products which are emerging as well. Like we're going to give the option to companies to actually release quarterly reports. So again, this is all to facilitate. I think it's, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but about $1 trillion is the Forex volume per month, foreign exchange volume per month. But the crypto volume is just it's just in the billions essentially. And that's not because these big institutional investors don't want to get into crypto, but it's because their compliance officers can't trust it, essentially, so they're getting the thumbs down. So we're within all these different products that we're mentioning, we'll be integrating those best practices to allow that volume essentially pick up in the future. And we are more than happy to talk to anyone sitting here or anyone else involved in the exchange, because that is the future of this industry.
Cool. Thanks, guys. So something I wanted to highlight before we open the floor to questions is that it's amazing, I think, and one of the things I'm most excited about for the blockchain industry, that we can sit with 4 leaders of a part of the blockchain industry that in theory would be competitors in a perfect economy, but because it's growing so much, there's actually way more opportunity in collaborating and competing. So really awesome that that's something that we uncovered on stage right now. So now we've got time for about 2 questions. Does anyone have any questions? For the panel?
So between the 4 of you, you must see an awful lot of token and coin projects. What are the ones that are sort of classic projects coming out right now that you think are going to succeed very well?
Yeah, so I can probably talk about it. Because we have over 140 coins listed on our exchange, And we have a quantitative model called Smart Chain Model that when we evaluate those projects, we use the model to give the scores anonymously. And of course, like we have the business development people, they will talk with the teams, they will talk with the, they will see the, for example, the advisors for that project. They will see, the underlying technologies. They will see, the markets for those projects. But each project is kind of like different because we categorize them as, application, underlying, the public chain technologies, or some like DApps. So I think that right now there's a trend that a lot of people focus on the public chain projects because that's like the fundamental problem we need to solve in order to move the whole industry forward. So we see a lot of investments from the token fund to invest in the next generation public chain. And also we see a lot of the real use cases, right? Because from like last year we saw like a lot of ICOs, but they don't have any like comfort projects, right? But like this year we're seeing more and more better projects, which has a real business model, which already established a relationship with like different partners that they are moving to the blockchain space.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to be the next big thing, but hopefully, if you have a good project, you go through our token listing process, and the applications online. There's things that we look for. Is it innovative? Does it pass our legal and compliance test? Is it just another fork of Bitcoin? And who's behind the team? And then we also check out the technology. So, the more projects that we can get in the queue for our token team to review, the better. And the more, I guess, we try to have projects that meet those criteria that get listed on Bittrex, and hopefully they're the high quality ones that will be the next big thing.
What's exciting to me is the tokenization of assets. I think we're beginning to hear about that a lot, and once that is a fact, a lot of people say you're tokenizing assets. We were at a conference not so long ago in San Francisco. All kinds of people were saying you're tokenizing assets, and we asked point blank, how many have you tokenized? And they tell you that, we're in the process of, we're about to, we have prospects to. But I think once assets are tokenized and that token can be traded, that excites me a lot. Because I think that we can then take the conventional assets, some of them illiquid, and gain that liquidity to those assets because of the cryptocurrency trading platform. And so that could also reignite several aspects of the economy that could be stagnant. So what excites me is the tokenization of assets and being able to list those on exchanges.
Well, I'm actually going to start with a little anecdote. So I think it was Harvard Business Review a couple of years ago did some research into the best investment gurus out there and what their probability of giving you a good signal was, and their success rate was actually 49%. So I'm on camera now, so I don't want to say this is going to be right, because basically I've got a 50-50 of getting it wrong essentially, and I'm not even one of the big gurus. But so when I'm looking at my personal portfolio, I'd be looking at very much applying portfolio theory to that, and following each of the innovations. So like I do like Slate, for example, is cool. So I'd be including that in my portfolio, but I wouldn't be going this YOLO mentality into this one's going to take off or something along those lines. So that's why I'd be very wary about picking kind of one particular coin or one particular project. But again, I think that the tokenization of assets again is a very interesting kind of segment that is emerging, because I do know they are talking in London about digitizing all their physical gold. So it'd be like Fort Knox in the US, having every single piece of gold actually digitized and electronic. So I think that as we move forward, we were laughing and joking last night with one of the other attendees about how even the chairs are going to be on a blockchain eventually. You'll be able to measure where each of the chairs are going. So I think it's more. I think that as opposed to choosing one particular coin or one particular direction the industry is moving, it's about diversifying your bets and applying that age-old portfolio theory to your thinking is what this is not constituted as investment advice for a legal reason, but that's what I'd say, yeah.
Thanks for the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, yes.
My name is Dr. Daniel Rickman. I'm CTO of Gopher Protocol. One quick question, please, with your permission. We definitely find an immediate connection to an AI and doing cryptocurrency. And we're developing actually an AI system currently specifically with branching this domain. Do you guys see any future for AI embedded within your system? Thank you.
I've had a few artificial intelligence companies. Oh, sorry. I keep thinking we're going this way, and when we start from there, I apologize. Yeah, we're going to go this way anyway, so that'll be fine in a second. So I've actually talked on AI before, and I've worked with a couple of AI companies. So the way I see it is, you probably know that when you're updating your deep learning or deep reinforcement learning models, the whole purpose is with deep reinforcement learning, for example, that it's basically choosing the reward, the best reward, and then it's kind of deleting the rest of the tests that it's run. So if we could implement a blockchain, for example, to store all the previous iterations of the nodes, essentially, we'd be able to go back, and there may be one of those kind of hidden gems hidden in something that was deleted. So in terms of, and I'm talking again on a broad scale here, so I very much see the data storage and being able to actually hold on to the data that you have created in the past as something highly beneficial, and if that can be distributed, it would be absolutely fantastic. So I apologize for starting there, but yes, I do.
So the short answer is yes. The semi-short answer is, I think in some aspects of the space, the industry, I don't know that AI will be beneficially embedded fully all across. I think from a security standpoint, I think it'd be phenomenal for exchanges also. What scares me a little bit more is on the trading end of it, right? Because then you go back to market manipulations and all that kind of stuff. So I think security and infrastructure, AI could be potentially fundamental and part of the foundation of a blockchain 4.0, 5.0, who knows when that'll be implemented. But I think around certain protocols, maybe on security, AI will be very beneficial to blockchain.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that question, but I will say, we need smart people like you to come approach me and talk about how we can implement that technology to our systems.
Yeah, like even though I'm from the technical background, but I'm not an AI expert. Well, there are different things that we saw, right? For example, because AI was a super hot topic last year, and blockchain was super hot topic last year as well. So like some people just combine these things together, but actually there's no real use cases for those projects, right? But still, they got like a lot of investments. So that's like one aspect that we see. And of course, in terms of real use cases, I can think of is because AI or the machine learning requires a lot of computational powers, right? You can basically give incentives to the participants using the crypto economics, and then let them to give you the computational power. So that basically can solve a critical bottleneck for the AI projects. So I know we see it, like a lot of people are working on it. So I'm sure like the AI and blockchain applications will be the next big thing as well. So we'll see about that.
Thanks everyone. So I think we're finished for time. Thank you all for being here and for giving your advice and insight. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much for that very
panel regarding the future